welcome to Clay Play. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make these flowers. This is the perfect project for kids and adults using either air dry or kiln fired clay. Let's just run through our equipment needed. Obviously some clay, a rolling pin, a paintbrush, a needle tool and just a dab of water. So to start, roll out our clay, turning as we go, pushing away from ourselves. So you need to roll it out pretty thin. Here I've got about 5 mils, and the reason for this is we're going to be layering our petals on top of each other, so we don't want the clay to be too thick. And then from here we're going to draw out our first petal. So just free draw a petal. And then once you've got a shape that you like, just take a nip to the side so you can easily pull this up. And we want to take that petal, just bearing in mind that it will be quite soft, so just do this very carefully. Okay, and we are going to now use this as our stencil. So typically with flowers, I make them with 5 to 6 petals. Then from here, you just want to lift up all that remaining clay carefully, trying not to disturb your petals. While those are drying, we are just going to make the centers of our flower petals. So I'm just going to move that up and out of the way, and just taking a small bit of your recycled clay. You've got a couple of options: rolled weed pea size, or another way when you've got something bigger, again rolling your ball and then just using your finger just to kind of round it out and flatten out the bottom. Taking that paintbrush, can add some little spots. Just support it with your finger while you do this so you don't lose the shape. Once your petals have hardened up, you can go around and smooth all the edges around the outside, and then by placing your thumb in the middle you can add some shape to your petal. Now we're ready to put our flower together, but before we do so we're just going to make some slip up. Slip is just water and clay that makes a glue-like consistency. So I'm just going to leave that there in the water and it will just slowly start to break down. Taking one of your petals, we need to score the petals before placing the next one on. So just taking a needle tool or a toothpick or something sharp with a point and just roughing up the edges. So this is going to be a bottom one, and then taking a next one, and then you'll be roughing up the bottom. Then taking a bit of that slip, so you can see just kind of like slippery wet clay, and just sticking it on there before pressing together. And we are just going to go through adding one under, one over, one under, one over as I go. Okay, and once you've got your flower pretty much constructed like that, we need to flip it back over and blend this all in. So it's just sitting there at the moment, but there's no strength to it, so we want to blend all this in. So you can take a blending wooden tool, or you can just use your finger and just blend the sides together just to strengthen up your flower. If your clay is quite firm and you're struggling to blend that clay down, you can just take your finger and a little bit of water and just apply over your piece as you blend. It'll just make it a little bit softer and easy to blend away those seams. So we're aiming to have no seams at all around the back until where the petals start to branch out individually. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that at the moment. I'm just going to kind of cup the middle a little bit. So I'm going to put a hole in here later so that we are able to put a stick or a piece of metal in here to hold our flower up at a later date. So flipping it back over to the inside, we're now going to add our centerpiece. So we made a couple of those centerpieces earlier, these ones with the little holes in it to pop in the center, or just a simple little ball. You can experiment with what looks best. But before you do apply them to the center, and you want to score and slip, push it in to your center. From here, before it does go into drying to that leather hard stage, so probably a couple of hours, I am going to just shape my petal a little bit. So I'm just going to push it back in. And again, just up to you as to how you want to do this. If your clay is still quite malleable and you're feeling like it's a bit soft and it's going to flop out, just find a cup or something just to support it in while it dries, just to keep that shape. So I've left these for an hour to dry, and as you can see, I can move it now without it being floppy or losing its shape. Here again with the water on the edges, and clean up any of those sharp edges or any bumps in your clay if you wish. And the other thing we are going to do is we're going to put a hole in the back so that you can put in a stick or a rod or a toothpick, depending on the size of your flower, so that you can stand it up. So to do that, I suggest using one of these little carving tools. If you've got the full clay kit, we do have these. If you don't, you can just kind of with your wooden tool pick it out. And all I'm going to do is supporting the back side, just going to come in here and just start to slowly carve out the center of my flower. So that if you are using kiln fired clay, that you go all the way up into the center of this, because if there's any air pockets, closed air pockets when you have kiln firing clay, then it will just explode in the kiln and your piece will be ruined. So make sure that there are no air pockets. If you can't get all the way through, you can always just put some holes in the side of your flower. And just to show you with the wooden tool, just popping it in there and giving it a good twist. As this one is so small, a nice small flower, I'm just going to be using a toothpick to hold it up. So when you do have your toothpick in there, you just want to give it a good wiggle around, as with all of these holes, your clay is going to dry and therefore shrink. So make sure all your holes are a little bit bigger than you need them. And there you go, these are all finished and ready to dry before coming in and painting and sealing if air dry, or drying and going into a bisque fire for the kiln.